I'd like to begin with a statement regarding the major events of the last couple of days. So there is obviously, this is a time of great uncertainty for us here in Arlington County with many questions about potential impacts to our collective future. And I think the sound planning, the sophistication of our staff, of our residents will allow Arlington's institutions to navigate the coming days as we have other major economic and political events in the past. But I have been hearing from a number of members of our community for whom their particular uncertainty is tinged with fear and colored with particular worry about their own safety and that of their family members. And because public safety in Arlington County is our responsibility as a local government, I wanted to make a couple of comments today. That public safety means that we not only strive for a low crime rate and an excellent police force, which we have, but we also ensure that all members of our community know that their leaders will continue to stand up for their safety no matter what's to come. And so I want to take this opportunity to reaffirm what has been a hallmark of Arlington County: inclusion and protection of our diversity and of our residents. I want to reaffirm my commitment to the safety of our immigrant neighbors, emphasizing, as this board did earlier in 2016, that all residents and visitors to Arlington County have a right to public safety protection, that it is our long-standing policy that Arlington County law enforcement does not monitor, detain, interview, or investigate people solely for the purpose of determining their immigration status, and that the services we provide in Arlington County, including public transit, education, access to our parks and to our libraries, are not restricted based on immigration status. I would like to underscore today our legacy as a welcoming home to refugees from all over the world, as this board did in 2015, and emphasize now, as that board did then, that, quote, responding to today's urgent humanitarian crises by serving as a new home for those seeking refuge is in keeping with our national and local traditions. I would like to elevate today our tradition of interfaith engagement and our belief that not just of our government, but of our neighborhoods, our schools, and religious institutions, that Muslim Americans are respected members of our community. I would like to reaffirm Arlington's longstanding public policies in support of our lesbian and gay community and our transgender community. Policies that have not only aimed to achieve non-discrimination, but affirmative support for LGBT neighbors, employees, and families, such as with efforts to establish domestic partner benefits. And personally, I would like to affirm a commitment to the safety of women in our community, that no matter the national context, Arlington will be a community that continues to ensure that survivors of gender violence are met here with dignity, compassion, and a plan to seek justice. I believe at this time of uncertainty for many of our residents, Arlington's longstanding commitments to the safety of all must be unwavering, and I want to reaffirm that today.
Thank you, Ms. Crystal.
Two other additional items of business.
You know what? I mean, I'm wondering,
Please.
since you, Madam Chair, since the statement is made, it might be a good idea
if you'd like to make a statement, that's fine.
Chosen to share some thoughts. Might be a good time, if you don't mind. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your statement and any others that may come, but I just wanted to take this opportunity since we were meeting today, and there has been a lot in the news lately. We've all been sort of riveted to the national news and the presidential race and others, that I take my opportunity to share my some thoughts with you today. So I've written a short statement here. Yesterday was likely the most consequential election in my lifetime for our country, for the world, for the understanding and future of our democracy, the economy, and the environment. Earlier today, I watched Hillary Clinton's poignant and gracious concession speech, and I actually took to heart her advice to me and to others. Number one, to respect the orderly transition of power, which is fundamental to our constitutional democracy. Two, to work within ourselves to open our minds, really, and give our president-elect a chance to lead. And three, to continue to believe in our vision and our values for the community, for the country. So on each of these, the first is easy for me. Everyone must and will come together to respect and accept the election results, as that is how we work. Via the example set by our very first president, George Washington. So congratulations to Mr. Trump. The second will be harder for some, like me, to open my mind and give our president-elect a chance to lead, yet we must do that after we each finish our own grieving, those that supported Ms. Clinton, and our assessment of what happened and why it happened. We must give the new president a chance. Though my doubts are deep in a qualitatively different way than ever before, I truly hope that the man that I've watched and learned about will change and evolve and recognize the vast responsibility of the U.S. presidency. As it evolves, I'm happy to share, my personal analysis of why it happened, what it means, as we all do that independently. Suffice it to say that I believe the top priority reform on my list would be to gather bipartisan support in Virginia and across the country for nonpartisan redistricting reforms, which may be the best way to reduce some of what is this national partisan polarization that we've experienced. And on the third item, finally, I will absolutely continue to believe in our vision for our community and for America, and to stand firm for our progressive values in this wonderful community of Arlington. The presidential contest resulted in a 76% for Ms. Clinton and 16% for Mr. Trump, almost a 5-to-1 ratio. Here we have created a very special place that embraces diversity, has effectively planned for and implemented enormous change to create a more sustainable and safe and healthy community, a community that works, and we've done it together. I believe that Arlington has traditionally invited wide expressions of thought, promoted civic engagement and civility, and has thoughtfully developed policy while being guided by that policy's impact. I believe Arlington has been a model for many others, both in Virginia. We've influenced many in Virginia and in the Washington metropolitan region. So similar to Katie, I specifically today means that as a leader in this community, I am choosing to reassure Arlingtons of all stripes and all hues and all homelands that Arlington's commitment to remain a welcoming and safe community will not change. I know different people are reacting to the events of the last 2 days differently. So I want to quote just a few lines from a past resolution of this board. Quote, Arlington County remains committed to making certain that all our residents have the ability to engage as full members of our community. Arlington County has always been and will remain a community that welcomes and values all its residents, treating them with human dignity and respect, regardless of immigration status. One of Arlington County's core principles, and indeed one of our greatest strengths, is our diversity. The broad range of views, cultures, backgrounds, and experiences among our residents adds to the richness of our lives and the strength of our community. We look forward to continuing together as one Arlington in the best traditions of our community and our nation. That's the end of that resolution we passed some time ago. So today I want to reaffirm my commitment to that vision for our community and our country, and overall, while I'm saddened, at some level I am old enough to know that pain and loss inevitably opens up opportunity, and that the future can be very bright, and we in Arlington will do our part. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Facette. I think I'll see now. I think Mr. Weistat also had a statement he wanted to make, so I think I'll ask him to do that now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we've heard from Ms. Crystal and Mr. Facette, and I very much appreciate your remarks. Regardless of our political perspective, everyone in the nation and across the globe is still processing the remarkable outcome of yesterday's election. Many are jubilant. Others, as Katie Crystal indicated, are apprehensive or even fearful. And many others, no doubt, are conflicted. In my view, all 4 party nominees on the Virginia ballot for president this year fell short of what our nation deserved and needed in 2016. I voted, but did not vote for any of them. Still, the American people have spoken. I am confident that our democratic institutions will heal and endure, and I hope and pray that people of goodwill will come together, lower our voices, and work together to find common ground to advance the human condition. I'm reminded of the statement chiseled in stone above the main door to the state capitol in my home state of Nebraska. Quote, "The salvation of the state is watchfulness in the citizen." These words are truer today than ever before. The American people, every one of them, are watching their elected officials, from the White House to the county board, today and every day of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dorsey?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the heartfelt statements of my colleagues. Early this morning, it became quite apparent to me that the outcome of the U.S. presidential election would not be what I desired, nor, if I'm going to be completely frank, what I ever thought possible. This morning, my wife, Rachel, and I had to relay the news to our budding feminist 8-year-old daughter, who just a couple of weeks ago dressed as a suffragette for Halloween, and explained to her that our candidate lost. That was hard, but harder still was finding answers to her very natural follow-up questions. Why? How? But I have to tell you, hardest of all, were finding the heartfelt words of reassurance to an outcome that, in my opinion, portends dramatic consequences for our country. I hope to be proven wrong. Tens of millions of Americans, 20,000 Arlingtonians, and for all I know, perhaps some of you in this room chose Mr. Trump. I won't purport to understand the bases for that choice, but of course, as someone who believes in America and who believes in our constitutional democracy, I accept it. I'm going to depart a little bit from the politeness of my colleagues, which I admire. It's just not within me today. I remain dismayed that come January, we will inaugurate a president who has demonstrated a lack of integrity, who has been uninterested in policy details, who demonstrates little understanding and no appreciation for our country's socioeconomic diversity or our history, has proven quick to anger and slow to acknowledge mistakes, who has objectified, belittled, and disparaged women, has cast Latinos as criminals and degenerates, has cast all Muslims as existential threats to us all, whose awareness of African Americans ignores the last 45 years of progress and development, who mocks those who are different with glee and no sense of remorse. He's refused all legitimate inquiry into his business interests, which may compromise his ability to be our commander-in-chief. And he's demonstrated a temperament that makes him completely unfit, in my opinion, to be a head of state. While it seems that many people, if you believe exit polls, believe that these negative traits have been political theater, I take Mr. Trump at his word and his deed. I hope that I am misguided. So while so much is unclear, I have to say that what is not is my commitment, as echoed by my colleagues, to seeing that Arlington's vision being realized in not just our words, but our actions. And when we say that we are a place, Arlington, where people unite to form a caring, learning, participating, sustainable community in which each person is important, I know I speak for all of us when I say I mean it. And I implore all of you who are here and who are listening to help us bring comfort and security to those who embrace today and tomorrow, concerned about having neither. In closing, I'd just like to say when facing consequential decisions, I often remind myself and constituents who view these decisions in the most strident and apocalyptic terms that tomorrow the Republic will still stand, no matter what we do. I hope I'm right. Thank you.
Well, thank you all, my colleagues. I certainly agree with everything that was said here. It was all said in different ways. I certainly agree with it. I have not prepared a statement. I think there may be a time in the future for more statements. At this point, I know we need to not give into fear. We need to not give into anger. We need to not assume that we know why everybody voted the way they did. And we need to continue what we're doing here. This is a beautiful, wonderful community, and we will do everything we can to preserve it. And I am hopeful that we can. The rule of law and the rule of our Constitution must prevail.